Welcome back to LearnPianoLive.com. My name is Jamin, and as you can tell from the countdown clock, the lesson is about to get started. In case you're new with us, there's a few things I'd like to show you to help you throughout the lesson. These lessons are always guided and shaped by your questions, and if you're live with us today, there's a couple different ways you can do that. One is in the public live chat, and the other is the Ask Jamin a Question button, where you can ask me a question privately, and I won't share your identity in case you're afraid that your question is stupid. But it's not. If you're in the archives, though, then just open up the survey. At the end of that, there's a place where you can ask your question. I will say I frequently get questions from students in the archives watching a lesson from 6 months ago, and I have no idea what they're talking about. So please try to be as specific as possible. If you're watching this at LearnPianoLive.com, there should be a PDF and an MP3 button right next to this video. The PDF will often have additional video links inside so you can get more in-depth instruction on each of the topics. And if you're the kind of person who likes to print out the PDF so you can make the same notes on your physical version as I'm making during the lesson, now would be the time to do that. The MP3 is just a play-along track so you can practice more after the lesson. In traditional lessons, a teacher is going to actually present some new concept for maybe 5 or 10 minutes every couple weeks. The rest of the time is going to be spent applying and refining those concepts. Well, here I'm spouting off hours of new information every week, so it's totally unreasonable to expect you to actually absorb all of that. Instead, the goal of these live lessons is for you to find some little nugget of something that makes sense, but is a bit of a challenge, and for you to go practice it, because practice is where all the improvement's going to happen. So don't feel bad if you have to leave the live lesson and you find that little thing that you're going to practice. And of course, if I'm going too fast, you can always rewind the live lessons or replay in the archives as much as you want. If these live lessons start feeling random or meandering, it's because they are, on purpose. So if you're the kind of person who wants classical training with a step-by-step method, then you're going to want to check out Kloppel Academy on the website. It's included in your live lesson subscription, so you can do both or either. And the upper levels are seriously hard work, but it's going to take you all the way from ground zero all the way up to being ready to enter any major music college as a piano major in classical or jazz. And finally, it's most people's favorite. This is application, where we take the past concepts from other live lessons and we see how they apply to an actual real song that already exists. And since there's like 1,000 different ways to play any song, you're just going to work on the version that is appropriate for your level. So that might just mean playing one note at a time for right now. Or maybe you're working on chords or covering the full song. Or maybe you're just seeing how the song breaks down so you can better write and transcribe your own songs in the future. But whatever your level is, the goal is not this song. So even if you don't play the whole entire song, you'll get better by even attempting a little bit of it, and attempt it we shall. Hey, welcome back. We are doing Return to Pooh Corner today. So this is a really, really long song, but I know you guys don't like it when I just do part of the song. So I'm going to give you all of the notes for pretty much the whole entire thing. It's got like it's almost like a ballad form, because it's got like the verse and then the chorus and the pre-chorus, and all that stuff is like all together, and then it just like cycles the whole thing several times. So it's super long. Probably the parts that you're gonna care about, if you know this song already, are going to be help me if you can, I've got to get back to the house. So you might want to just only pay attention to page 2. That's totally legitimate to just skip all of page 1 and go straight to page 2. But let's go back to the top here, and I'll walk you through these notes. And at the very beginning, the thing we need to pay attention to most is these 4 sharps right here. This is called a key signature. And this key signature tells you that all of the Fs are going to be sharp, because this sharp sign right here is right on the line that is for the F. So that top line, anytime you see a note on that line, that's going to be an F. So that's telling you all the Fs in the song, even if they're not on that line, any F is going to be sharp. Then this sharp sign right here is on this space right here. And this space is C. So that one's telling you all the Cs are going to be sharp. This sharp sign is telling you all the Gs are going to be sharp, and this sharp sign right here is telling you that all the Ds are going to be sharp in the song. So all the Fs, all the Cs, all the Gs, all the Ds in the entire song are going to be sharp, no matter where you see them. So it's a lot to pay attention to. But fortunately, all the letters are written in for you. And what I'd recommend is if this is your first song, you've never if you've never read sheet music before, just pay attention to the letter names here and then say out loud the words down here. So that'll help you keep your timing right and get all the notes right. It's still going to take a lot of practice to get it all down. But if we take a look here, the first note we want is an E. In order to find an E, you're just going to take any group of 2 notes on the entire piano and take the top note, the one that's on the right, and drag it up a little bit more, and you'll land on an E every single time. So that's your very first note is E, and as you can see, we've got 3 of those in a row, and you're gonna say the words Christopher, Christopher. And if you already know how the song goes, then that's gonna help out a whole lot, because you could already say like Christopher Robin and I walked alone. You can kind of know where the notes are supposed to go rhythmically, and then just playing the actual notes is the only challenge. One more thing over here that you need to know, anytime you see one of these swoopy lines right here, this is called a tie, and that's going to tie 2 notes together. So that's literally taking both of those notes that we're going to play here in just a second and tying them into one of them. So the note is a D sharp. So if this one right here is an E, like we talked about before, then the note right next to it would be a D. So that's a D, and a D sharp, with the purpose of that hashtag in there, that little guy right there, is to make sure you don't actually play a D. You're going to play the note that's slightly higher than a D, just barely slightly higher. That note right there is a D sharp, because that one was going to be a D, and so that one is a D sharp. So our very first thing we have here is 3 E's and then a D sharp. And remember, there's only one there because those 2 are tied together with that tie up at the top there. So those words would be Christopher. Then we've got a C sharp right here. And this is where we're going to pick up the pace just a little bit, because hopefully at this point you can kind of figure out how you're supposed to find the notes, and it's just a matter of practice to actually get them down. You won't have all these notes down by the end of this lesson, most likely, unless you've already played a whole ton of songs. But at least you'll know where to find them, and you can go back in the video and rewind and follow along with me. So after the D sharp is a C sharp. Now again, this note right here would be a C, because if that was an E, the note before an E would be a D, and the note before a D would be a C, the note before a C would be a B, the note before a B would be an A. So this is A, B, C, D, E. Just go straight through the alphabet. So this is a E, we've got a D sharp. Since this is a C, this is a C sharp. So, and like we said at the beginning, you're not going to play any C's or D's for the whole entire song. So these guys just aren't going to get used. Every time it says to play a D, it's going to be a D sharp, and every time it says to play a C, you're actually be playing a C sharp. So that's the beginning of the song there. Christopher Robin. And then a bunch of B's. Again, we got a ton of these ties in this song. The way the rhythm is structured for this song, they tie over a lot of important beats and stuff. So it kind of gives it like that little bit of an off-balance feel. So those 2 right there are going to be tied together. So we've got a B, and then another B, and then another B, and then C sharp, and then E. And this E, you can see, from that C sharp to that E, that goes way down. So C sharp, E, like that. So all of those notes all together would sound like this. Christopher Robin and I walked along. Cool. So then after that, we're gonna go a little bit faster through these. We've got an F sharp and a G sharp and an A for the words under branch. And this one right here, the end of that A, that tie is tied to nothing because it's trying to tell you it's actually tied to that next line. So those 2 are tied together. You're not going to play this note right here. So back to the F sharp, it would be under branch is lit up by the moon. Again, those 2 lines. Christopher Robin and I walked along under branches lit up by the moon. And then the next one is almost the same. Posing our questions to Owl and Eeyore as our days disappeared all too soon. So it's all the same except for that very end. You're going to play E, F sharp, E instead of what did we do before that? F sharp, E, G. So that part right there turns into that part right there. Other than that, all the rest of those notes are the same. So this is like the pre-chorus part right here, but I've wandered much further. Starts on a B, but I've wandered much further today than I should, and I can't seem to find my way back to the wood. So, next page, and this is the part that most people know. It's kind of like the most popular part of the song. Help me if you can. I've got to get. So that's a E, G sharp, B, G sharp, A, B, G sharp, F sharp. And then the next line, back to the house at Pooh Corner by 1. Then the next line is almost the same. So these 3 lines all have this E, G sharp, B thing going on. So you'd be surprised. There's so much to be done. Then we're almost to the end of the song right here. We're going to repeat this thing note for note. G sharp, B, D sharp, C sharp, D sharp, E. And then we're going to do the exact same thing, but with different words. Chase all the clouds from the sky. So those two lines are exactly the same. Count all the bees and chase all the clouds. Count all the bees in the hive, and then chase all the clouds from the sky. And then we have back to the days of Christopher Robin and Pooh. And that's pretty much all of the right-hand notes that you would play. If you need to use 2 hands for that, that's totally legitimate. That's totally understandable. But I think we're going to go ahead and talk about what we could do with our left hand for the people who've already practiced that up and they're all ready to roll with that. I'm just checking the chat room because we don't got Kendra today. Aw, coronavirus. What a butt. Okay. Yep, we're good. So then the left hand, what we're going to do here is just play the note that is listed with the sharps, but without any of the additional like ims or other markings. So, for example, right here on the word Chris. Now, if you're already good with saying out loud Chris and playing an E at the same, Chris, then our left hand is going to play an E right there because that's the one that's lined up with it. This is the left hand note. So we would play both of those together, Chris. And then you're just going to hang on to that pretty much the whole time until Rob, and Rob, it's kind of lined up with this one over here, which is like the second half of that note that's tied together. So you could either line it up with the Rob, or you could go Rob like that. So either Christopher Rob, which would be a lot easier than playing Christopher Rob, which is probably what I would do. It might have sounded exactly the same to you, but the second one just kind of started on the second half of the D sharp. Christopher Rob, and I, and at that point, so this F sharp real quick, we're just playing the F sharp part. We're not playing the M part of it. So we're stripping off all of the M's and just playing the note that's listed. So the left hand notes would be E, and then F sharp, and then G sharp, and then C sharp, and then F sharp. And then right here, for reasons that we're going to talk about later, we're going to skip the A and play the B in the left hand, and then E, and then B, A. So all that, the way that would sound once we play it together, Christopher Robin and I walked in. Sorry. And then the next section, so that was all repeating the exact same left hand. And again, this takes a lot of practice. So if you can't get that right away, that's perfectly natural. That's perfectly fine. I'm just showing you the steps that you would go through to actually practice this thing and put it together, which could take at least hours, maybe weeks, or if you're going to do the whole thing and you haven't done that many songs before, maybe months. The first few songs that you do should probably take a long time, and then eventually you get used to it. This wasn't the song I was expecting, but it's pretty yes. I think that's the case for a lot of people. I think a lot of people, when they requested Return to Pooh Corner, were actually trying to request Welcome to Pooh Corner, which is like the theme song. When is the Pooh? When is the Pooh? So I've got a feeling that we're gonna end up doing that song eventually too. But whatever, we'll do both of them. This is a really pretty song. But I've wandered much further. Is gonna be, but I've won, and that's the C sharp. Wandered much further today, and that's a G sharp. Then and I can't seem to find, that's A, my way back to the wood, and that's a B. And then we're on to our last page. So it's gonna be, help me if G sharp, you can F sharp, got to get back to the house at Pooh Corner by 1, which is the B there, and then my left hand again going back to E. So this whole thing in here is all E, G sharp, F sharp, B, E, G sharp, F sharp, B, E, G sharp, F sharp, B, until we get to count all the B's in the hive. Count all the B's in the hive, and then we're down to the E, and back to the G sharp, chase all the clouds from the sky, C sharp. Then we're gonna go back to the days of Christopher, Christopher, Robin, and Pooh. And right here we're gonna play a D, and then the B of the A over B, and then we're gonna go to an E. So if I try that again with just those, without trying to call all that stuff out, it would sound something, hopefully like. There we go. Christopher, Robin, and Pooh. Okay, so that is all the left hand stuff if you're just playing the roots, and then we've played all of the melody here, and so then it's time to add in the chords, which is gonna be pretty exciting. That's gonna sound like something like, okay, so the way we're gonna get to there is we would need to play all of the chords that are listed here. So now we are going to pay attention to the M's, and this is the last thing that we do for today. So we go, we got the E already in the left hand. Now, again, this is a step that like a lot of us won't even get to because it's just a lot to think about already. We've got a ton of notes, so just playing the right hand by itself is a lot of stuff to do. And then adding in the left hand, like that's a whole other layer. That's months and months of practice if you haven't done these songs before. And then this next thing is just virtually impossible for anyone who hasn't already played a whole lot of songs. So take one of the assignments we've already done if that seems like a challenge for you, and go work on that. But if you can already do all that and you're already looking ahead, all these chords are listed in the following pages. So the E chord, the F sharp minor chord, the G sharp minor chord, the C sharp minor chord, those are all listed down here. So the E chord is these notes right here, E's and G sharps and B's. So the first way that we want to do that is just literally play those three notes at the same time. So E, G sharp, B. And then when it's time for the, let's see here, what's the next chord after that? F sharp and then G sharp. So we'd play the F sharp minor chord. That's the one with the M on it. That M means minor. So F sharp, A, and C sharp. So if we just only played like the chords that were listed here, the hard part is switching the chords, not actually playing the chords. So like finding and playing an E, not too bad. But being able to play an E and then switch on time to an F sharp, that's always a challenge. So that sounds like this. Christopher Robin and I walked along under branch is lit up. And this is where we care about this A right here. So if we were playing the chord, the full chord, we would play the A. If we're playing just the lowest note, we'd play the B. So that's why before when we were playing the roots, we're gonna play the B, but if we're playing like the full chord, we play an A, and the lowest note should be a B. So if we're playing only the chord, like we're practicing right now, we'd play an A. If we're playing just the root, we'd play a B. If you're playing with both hands, then we'd play an A up here and a B down here, and then there wouldn't be really room to play the melody after that. So you kind of got to choose which one are you doing. Are you just playing a single note, or are you playing the entire chord? Then E to a B, A, posing our questions to owl and E, or has disappeared all too soon. But I've wandered further the day that I should, and I can't seem to find my way back. Now watch out for this one, because all the other F sharps we've had so far have been minors, and this one is not a minor. So you want to make sure that you're playing the F sharp major that's listed below and not the F sharp minor. Back to the wood. So help me if you can. I've got to get back to. By the way, it doesn't matter where you're playing these chords. Down here, that sounds kind of muddy for me. I don't really like that sound. That sounds just terrible. So, but it doesn't really matter if you play it there, or if you play it there, or you play it there, wherever you want. So help me if you can. I've got to get back to the house at Pooh Corner by 1. You'd be surprised, there's so much to be done. Count all the bees in the hive. Chase all the clouds from the sky. Back to the days of Christopher Robin and Pooh. And then E. And we end it like that. So that's all of the left-hand chords. If you can already do that with the melody, man, you are way, way ahead of almost all the world. And if you want to sing along with it, what I recommend is you play those chords in the right hand, and then with your left hand, you just play the roots. So in that case, like if you were actually going to sing along, or someone else was going to sing along, you just play Christopher Robin and I walked along. So this doesn't really sound like the song, but it's the backbone, it's the structure that someone else could play a melody over top of or sing over top of. So don't play the melody if someone else is playing the melody, but I know a lot of you are just working on solo piano stuff right now, just trying to make it sound like a song on the piano without any other instruments or singers. So those are kind of our steps, and after that, it's just a matter of adding in those same chord tones anywhere you can throughout the piano. So on the E, for example, Chris, I've got my lowest note of an E, and I've got my melody here, and everything in between is those options of E's and G sharps and B's. E's and G sharps and B's, however I want. So probably the first step that you'd want to take is just adding in one chord tone, one E, G sharp, or B on an E chord in your right hand underneath the melody. So not playing anything up here, but playing all these notes down here. So something like Christopher, or Christopher, or Christopher. So I'm playing E's and G sharps and B's because it's the E chord. And then on Rob, you could add in F sharps and A's and C sharps because those are the notes of the chord. Robin, 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 Robin. Any of those work. And then there's a G sharp, so we'd have G sharps and B's and D sharps. I walked along, and that's C sharp. And that's where we start getting into like the full-on covers and stuff like that. And that's definitely somewhere before that. You need to submit a video so I can take a look at what you're doing and try to help you take whatever your next steps are. Or if you think you've already got a cover for it, then just send that along because that'd be cool too. But let me show you some of the stuff that I would do just utilizing those concepts of melody in the right hand, roots in the left hand, and then filling in some chord tone stuff in the middle. That would be, I think, something like... Okay, so some of that was really close. Some of that was not close at all. So we all got stuff we need to practice. But those are all just chord tones. Everything I did was one of those 4 steps, playing the melody, playing the root, then adding in chord tones in the middle. Is that just 3 steps? Yeah, that was only 3 steps. Yeah, okay. So each of those takes, hours and hours or weeks or months of practice, but get started on it because that's only hours or weeks or months away. And as it turns out, we have months on our hands, it would seem, kind of locked in our homes right now. So you might as well emerge from the coronavirus lockdown with a great skill that you can apply to the rest of your life. So melody, roots, chord tones. If you need more help on that, let me know. Until next time, good luck, have fun. This is usually where like Kendra jumps in and she's like, what's your motto? And then I think it's explore, mess up, have fun. That sounds about right.